Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is John Campea, and this is a companion video. What are companion videos? Well, I'm glad that you asked. You see, every day on the John Campea Show and on Open Mic on the weekends, we take live questions, but often we don't have time to get around to all the live questions that come in. But I want to make sure those questions get answered in a video, so I gather them up and I address them here on companion videos. Now, this companion video is for some of the leftover questions that all the leftover questions we had from Saturday's Open Mic and from this morning. Today's Monday, this morning's John Campea Show. So we've gathered up those questions here. Let's start getting to them. And we're going to start getting caught up with Oz, who writes, Robert Pattinson confirmed in the Christopher Nolan movie. Thoughts? I think it's great. I've been telling you guys for a long time. Robert Pattinson is a fantastic actor. Now, unfortunately, there are still some people who only watch comic book movies and don't watch any other great films. And when they think of Robert Pattinson, all they think about is Twilight. And they go, Robert Pattinson? But if they expanded their horizons a little bit and watched a lot of these other great films, they'll know that Robert Pattinson has been starring in a buttload of great indie films last couple of years and turning in stupid good performances. He is top shelf acting talent wise. He's amazing. And a lot of directors are lining up to work with him right now. And the fact that he's been signed on to be in Christopher Nolan's new film, that says a lot. I think it's fantastic. All right. Ryan Lohner writes, the walk down the hall to battle in Bubba Hotep, just incredible. And guys, I keep telling you, and thank you for bringing it up again, Ryan, I don't know why Bubba Hotep's been coming up a bunch lately, but I'm glad that it is. If you guys have not seen the Bruce Campbell movie, Bubba Hotep, make sure you watch it. It's great. The basic premise is, okay, Bruce Campbell plays Elvis, and he's an old senior citizen now living in a retirement center. Now, what happened was, a bunch of years ago, Elvis decided he didn't want that life anymore, so he swapped places with a double, with somebody who looked just like him, to take over the Elvis gig, and it was that guy, that imposter, that died. And Elvis all this time has been alive and kicking, and now he's living in a retirement home, except an ancient Egyptian mummy is now stalking the retirement home, feeding on people in the night. And who can stop them but Elvis? It's as good as it sounds, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you check it out. Thanks for bringing that up again, Ryan. All right. Let's see here. Mr. Hero 17 writes, why do people say the MCU started with Iron Man when it was in actuality the Hulk? Plus, do you think we will get a solo Hulk film anytime soon? Well, as they did start with Iron Man. Now, Iron Man and the first Hulk film, the first MCU Hulk film, did come out in the same year, but Iron Man came out first. Now, if you're thinking about the Ang Lee Hulk, that wasn't MCU. That was a standalone movie outside of the MCU, has nothing to do with the MCU. It's not the same character. It's a totally different incarnation. The one with Ed Norton Jr. is MCU, and that was a reboot. That was a reboot in the MCU, so let's just be clear on that. So yes, it really did start with Iron Man. The MCU started with Iron Man. All right, Luke Blackwell writes, how will Jon Snow and Daenerys kill the ice-breathing dragon? Oh, I have no idea. I don't even know if they do kill it. Maybe they figure out a way to turn it. I mean, maybe it's one of those droid control ship things. You know, this plot device that a lot of films use. There are these overwhelming numbers, but if you kill the one guy or blow up the one ship, then all the overwhelming numbers stop being. You know, you kill the one head vampire and all the other vampires die. Blow up the droid control ship and all the armies of the droids deactivate. This could be one of the things where maybe they just need to kill the Night King and then everything that the Night King turns back. So maybe the Ice Dragon turns back. I don't know, or maybe they kill it. But how they're going to do it, Luke, I have no idea. I'm just as anxious to find out as you. Okay, Roy L. writes, someone gave you the line, damn shame. Oh, someone gave you the line, damn shame what they did to that dog. I believe that is from Coming to America. Remember when they were shown the Poor Room? I don't remember the line. It sounds like it's from something else, but maybe it's from Coming to America. I honestly don't know. It's been a while since I've seen it. All right, BW Rosa writes, have you read the Wildcats comic book, and do you think it could work as a movie? Also, what other anime do you think could be adapted into a movie? I read some Wildcats, but it was years ago, like back when I was living with my buddy Rodney, because he had all of them. He had all the Wildcat stuff. Look, can it work as a movie? Again, Felipe the Sentient Dancing Microphone. This always comes up. John, do you think this could work as a movie? John, do you think that could work as a movie? John, can that work as a movie? John, can this work as a movie? Here's the basic answer is this. Felipe the Sentient Dancing Microphone. You can take any premise, and there are some premises that are better than others, absolutely, but you can take any premise and put the right story to it with the right script, a director who understands what they're trying to go for, a good supporting cast of people behind the camera developing it, and then people in front of the camera shooting it, and you can make anything work. Hell, they made a movie called The Lego Movie about plastic building blocks. They made a movie about Lego. If that doesn't prove the Felipe the sentient dancing microphone theory, nothing else will. And of course, that's where the whole Felipe thing comes from. It comes from the idea that, hey, I could make up a movie, say, hey, it's Felipe, the sentient dancing microphone, and he sings and dances. Right concept, right script, right director, right everything, and it can work. If you can do it with Lego, you can do it with that. So can a Wildcats thing work? Sure. There are marketing issues. You're going to have trouble getting people to come see that movie. But can you make a good movie out of it? You could. Yeah, you can. It's a Felipe the sentient dancing microphone thing. All right. Matthew Phillip Reviews writes, with the cancellation of Daredevil, Jessica Jones, and The Punisher, do you think we'll see those characters in the MCU or will Disney reboot them? The answer to both of those questions is yes. You will see them, but they'll be rebooted versions. You're not going to see Charlie Cox as Daredevil anymore. You're not going to see John Bernthal as Punisher anymore. You're not going to see... so basically, yes, you're going to see them in the MCU after about another year and a half or 2 years, because that's how long they have to wait before they can use the characters again. But when they do, they're going to be rebooted. They're going to be brand new incarnations of those characters because they were never in the MCU in the first place. So they're going to be totally rebooted characters. That's what everything looks like. Now, it's still possible they could do it another way, but it doesn't look like it. It looks like that's the way they're going right now. Let's wait and see. We'll find out in about a year and a half or 2 years. All right, Doshi writes, Watching eating eggs with ketchup, and I own a cat. Oh well, Doshi, nobody can be perfect, and that's okay. You're all right to have a dirty, awful cat and to be eating ketchup on eggs. It's such a disgusting thought. Anyway, Suthius writes, Suthius85 writes, seeing Key and Peele being a duo for so long, I kind of feel bad for Key now that Peele seems to be moving on up big time. I'm sure Key still gets a lot of work, and I wish him all the best in the business. Dude, I'm telling you right now, I think Keegan-Michael Key is probably making more money right now than Jordan Peele. And then you go, no, Jordan Peele's movies. Just believe me, these first-time directors and all that kind of stuff, they don't get as much money as you might think. They don't get it. Now, he is clearly the bigger name right now, but like I said, don't feel too bad for Keegan-Michael Key. He's making bank. He is completely busy. He's in tons of stuff, and he might even right now be making more money than Jordan Peele is. So keep that in mind. Do keep that in mind. But it's great. Look, Keegan-Michael Key just wants to act and be a performer. Jordan Peele seems to want to be a filmmaker. So whatever. To each their own. But it's great seeing both of them still being able to be successful and getting lots of work and doing all that kind of stuff. But yeah, don't feel so bad for Key right now. Don't feel so bad for Key. B.W. Rosa writes, is it overdue for a theatrical Mickey Mouse film? No. No, I don't really sense any kind of big hunger for a Mickey Mouse film, not to mention Disney would be kind of foolish to do a Mickey Mouse film. Mickey Mouse is the living emblem of the Disney empire. You don't risk a badly received movie with your icon. And that is really, Mickey Mouse is the icon, the living icon of the whole Disney empire. You don't risk that by making a movie out of it. If the movie's great and Oscar-winning, great. But listen, with all best intents, a lot of times studios can put everything they have into a movie and it not turns out well, or isn't received well, or heaven forbid has some kind of controversy surrounding it, and you don't play that kind of game with your mascot. And let's face it, Mickey Mouse is more than a mascot, so I don't think you're going to see a Mickey Mouse theatrical film anytime soon. Koa1708 writes, ironic, Peele known for comedy makes good horror. I don't think that's ironic. I think, hey, he's good at one thing and he's good at another. I don't think there's really anything ironic about it. It's just that he's multi-talented. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him get away from horror for his next film. I wouldn't be surprised to see him get away. And I don't have any insider information here. I'm not saying he won't do another kind of horror thriller next, but I got a feeling he won't. I got a feeling he'll show his chops in other areas as well. Maybe do another comedy, maybe do a drama, maybe do an action film. I don't know. Let's see what he does next. But he's 2 for 2 right now. I didn't like Us as much as I like Get Out, but it's still a win for Jordan Peele. It's a good film, and it's entertaining. So he's 2 for 2 right now in that area. I think he might want to spread his wings a little bit more. We'll wait and see. Zach Carper writes, over under 30%, we find out who the new Batman is on the 30th due to the 80th anniversary. I'm going to take under 30%. It's not a bad thought, though, and I'm not going to say it's 0. And I'd probably take more than 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5% either. 30's kind of high. 30's kind of high. So I'm going to take the under on that, but we're going to find out soon. I mean, we have to find out soon. They claim they're trying to start shooting by the end of this year. And if that's the case, we got to find out pretty soon who it is. And I still believe they've already hired him. Whoever it is, I'm pretty sure they've already hired him. They're just not letting us know yet. But we'll find out soon enough. Okay. Boy Chow Sang writes, am I the only one who noticed Arthur Mara's kiss was CGI? Spoiler, but Movie Clips channels on YouTube already uploaded the Aquaman clips, including spoilers. Well, obviously they're the love interest of each other. Them having a kiss is not really a spoiler. Anyway, I saw the movie 3 times in theaters. I don't recall their kiss being CGI at all. Maybe it was just shot weirdly or whatever, but I don't think the kiss was... I mean, maybe it was. I'll take another look at it, but I don't recall it being CGI. I'll have to take another look. I don't see why would you CGI that? Why don't you just have the actors kiss? Why would you spend a lot of time and money and everything to CGI it? I don't see what the purpose of that would be. It's not very cost efficient. Anyway, but I'll take a look. Maybe that's there. It's just, I'm just telling you, Boy Chow, I never noticed that myself, but maybe you're onto something. BW Rosa writes, was a Berenstein Bears movie ever considered? I have no idea. I've never heard anything about a Berenstein Bears movie, at least not that I can remember off the top of my head. Maybe it was something at some time, and it's a recognizable IP. Maybe they could do it at some point. Sinfinity and Beyond writes, hey, John, from Toronto here. Nice, how you doing? IMDb has a Mortal Kombat film produced by James Wan and screenplay by the Wonder Woman 1984 writer. I know IMDb isn't foolproof, but it's there. I know, yeah, nothing to pay attention to. I think that was probably something that was a whisper and a rumor at one point, and somebody made an IMDb page for it. And honestly, I don't think there's anything to it at all, unfortunately. James Wan is real busy these days with a lot of movies that are actually happening. So I don't think we're probably going to see that once. I really wouldn't pay much attention to that at this point. Okay, Jared Murray writes, thoughts on Vudu, my preferred digital movie store. Yeah, somebody else asked me that the other day, that exact question. I've used Vudu, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's the one owned by Walmart. I used Vudu once or twice years ago. I don't remember having any problems with it or any issues with it. But really, for the last number of years, my real preferred method has been the Google Play Store. That and Amazon Prime once in a while. And I have great experiences with those. So I have nothing negative to say about the Vudu service, just that it's been so long since I've used it, I really can't comment on the functionality with it. I'm sure it's a perfectly good one, though. I mean, it's backed by a big major corporation like Walmart, so it's probably pretty good. I'm just more versatile with the Google Play Store and Amazon Prime. All right, Noel Nguyen writes, longtime fan, thank you so much, Noel. First super chat, well, thank you so much, Noel. Detective Pikachu is following the narrative of the actual game, with some adaptations to film. Will we see more video game movies follow narratives of the game, not Assassin's Creed? Well, first of all, we don't know shit, because we haven't seen the movie. So we don't know anything. We don't know if they are actually following it or not. Until we see the movie, we can't answer that. There are some movies that I think will play well to following the narrative of games, and there are many games that are not. Remember, games are not made to be movies. They're not made to be movies. Quite like books are not made to be movies. So that's why when you do an adaptation from a book to a movie, you have to adapt it a bunch to make it work as a movie. Just because it worked as a book doesn't mean it'll work as a movie. Just because it works as a video game doesn't mean that a direct translation is going to work as a movie, because they're different things, right? That's why we have adaptation. And we've seen what happened, the train wrecks we've had on a couple of occasions when people have just tried to do a direct translation of something to something else. Most of the time, sometimes it works, most of the time it doesn't. You need a little bit of adaptation. So they have tried both. I mean, we've seen video game movies that try to follow a basic idea of a story of a game. Some of them try to go a complete departure, and they just all failed. Reality is, Detective Pikachu really isn't a video game movie. It's really not. But in a technical sense, it is. I don't know that Hollywood is honestly going to take any object lessons from Detective Pikachu. And by the way, I think that movie looks hilarious, and I think it's going to be a big hit. But I don't know that there's any takeaway lessons for Hollywood or filmmakers or whatever, studios or directors or anybody when it comes to the larger paradigm of video game movies. This is a really different kind of quote-unquote video. This is really more of an IP movie than it is a video game movie. So I don't know. I really don't know if we'll see it. But again, we don't know how closely or how far this thing follows the video game, because you haven't seen the movie, neither have I. There may be some things that look similar, but until we see the movie, we just simply don't have the answer to that, right? So we don't have to wait long, though. I was never excited about the idea of a Detective Pikachu. What a crappy idea. And then I saw the trailers, and I'm now like salivating to see this. I cannot wait to see this movie. Fortunately, we don't have too much longer to wait, Noel. All right. James Rell 22 writes, Jared Jensen and Misha uploaded a video saying that Supernatural's 15th season will be its last. Yeah, we've talked about that a little bit on the show. It's been a hell of a run, and my heart weighs heavy with this news. All good things, I suppose. You know what? I was not all that bothered when I heard the news. And then I wondered, why am I not bothered? I know why. Because most people's favorite shows never get to 10 seasons. Let alone 11, let alone 13, let alone 14, let alone 15. One of my favorite shows, Supernatural, has got 15 seasons. 15 seasons. None of my other favorite shows come anywhere close to that. Not Spartacus, not Sons of Anarchy, not Battlestar Galactica. None of my other favorite shows come anywhere close to 15 seasons. So it's like, the thought that went through my head, James Rell, was exactly what he said. All good things, man. But look, at the end of the day, I got 15 seasons. When most of my friends and everything, they're lucky if their show gets 7 or 6. One of my favorite shows got double that. So I've got nothing to feel bad about. It is weird to think about not being able to have a new episode of Supernatural every week like we've had for 15 years. But yeah, I actually feel like, nah, it's fine. They gave and gave and gave 15 years worth, and I'm super stoked, and I'm super excited that we got it, and I'm super excited that they're not just announcing this season's the final season. We're getting all the rest of this season, and we're getting another season next year. So I'm actually feeling pretty good about it. As a fan, I'm feeling pretty good about it, brother. All right, Mr. Hank Dunn writes, Glenn Howerton would be my pick for Mr. Fantastic. I have no idea who that is, so I can't comment on that. But sure, why not? X-actor, X-role, why not? Markandale Productions writes, could Reed Richards become the smartest in the MCU? I don't think so. They have made a pretty definitive statement that Shuri is the smartest person in the MCU. And they ain't going to change that. I mean, they never went out of their way to say Tony was. Or they never went out of their way to say Dr. Banner was. They never did that. But then Shuri comes into the MCU, and the producers and Kevin Feige all made sure everybody knew Shuri is the smartest person in the MCU. And I don't see them changing that. I think they're going to keep that even when they bring Reed Richards in. Reed Richards is going to be brilliant. They might make him smarter than Banner. They might make him smarter than Tony. But I don't think Kevin Feige comes out and makes a definitive statement like Shuri is the smartest person in the MCU if they're just going to trade that title back and forth a bunch, you know? So I don't think so. I think it's going to stay Shuri. Good old Uncle Sidious, I like that name, writes, how would you like the Magneto / Quicksilver sun reveal to go in Dark Phoenix? Could Magneto will die to protect him? That would be really emotional. I don't think they should do the reveal in this movie. Remember, like 8 or 9 or 10 years has passed. It seems to me like the reveal should have happened sometime in that time period. It seems to me that would have been something that got discovered or played out off camera, off screen. I don't see how you come up with a really good excuse for saying they went another 10 years or however much time passes between Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix. I don't see how you say 10 years has passed and that never got brought up. So honestly, I think the best thing to do would just be to say, you start this movie that Magneto knows Quicksilver's his son. Quicksilver, obviously knows already that Magneto's his dad. So I think you just start the movie with them already knowing that. I think that's probably the best way to handle it. I mean, they may not do it that way. I'm just saying, to me right now, from the outside looking in, it kind of feels the best way to me. But that's just me. All right. Haskell420 writes, John, I really liked The Dirt. It starts from the actor playing Nikki's point of view, and each actor's band role does it through the film, maybe 25 to 30 minutes total. Their R&R lifestyle relationship is emotional. You're the first person I've heard from Haskell to say that you like it. Now, it's not that I've heard a whole ton of crap about it. Let me just double check here. I'm going to look up The Dirt, Rotten Tomatoes. Let's see what other people have said about it. Well, it's got a 43%. It's got a 43%. And I'm not surprised. I mean, it looked terrible to me. It really did look bad. And then I talked to a couple people who I know were really excited about it. And then they watched and they were like, oh, this isn't all that good. So I'm glad to hear somebody liked it, because they obviously put a lot of effort into making this movie. So I'm glad you liked it, Haskell. That's awesome. But I got to tell you, you're the first person who's written to me to say that you really like it. And I'm glad that you did. But hey, all film's subjective, so I have no plans on watching it, though. I thought the trailers looked bad. Then I started hearing from some people that I trust that they didn't like it either. So I got too much to do with my time than to waste a couple hours watching a movie I'm probably not going to like. So I'm going to take a pass on it myself. But I'm glad you enjoyed it, man. Okay. Let's see. Mark C. writes, you need a backstory for Magneto. Dude, Bosnia. Yeah, Bosnia's a good one. Like, any circumstance or situation in the past couple of decades that have really shown the worst in humanity. Bosnia is a good one. Iraq could be a good one. Rwanda would be a massive one. There's a whole bunch you can do, and Bosnia is certainly one of them that would totally fit the bill. Okay. Storm Chaser 78 writes, longest running scripted U.S. primetime series, Supernatural, is number 20 season-wise, and 25 episodes as of now. It will be, and 25th episode's number, it will be missed. I think it's a little bit higher than that. On the list, because I saw a list recently. Yeah, man, not many live-action scripted series get anywhere near 15 seasons, especially these days. You know, Law and Order, I think, has been around that long. A few, but for the most part, I mean, Supernatural is definitely in the top 2%. Definitely in the top 2%. Let's see. Ash here writes, with the Fox deal complete, John Campea joins the MCU. Yep, cat's out of the bag. I'm joining the MCU. I'm actually in Endgame. And I stopped Thanos. Anyway, Lone Wolf X6 writes, I couldn't decide who I'd be more scared of, Soulless Sam or Demon Dean, both intimidating in very different ways. I think I would be more intimidated by Demon Dean, because Soulless Sam, Soulless Sam isn't definitively evil, right? He could do a lot of evil because he just doesn't care. But he could also not do evil because he just doesn't care. Whereas Demon Dean is actively, fundamentally, chaotic evil. So I would say I would probably, both intimidating in their own ways, but I would probably be a little bit more scared of Demon Dean myself. We're talking Supernatural for those of you who don't know what we're talking about. Okay, Jordan Miller writes, just realized my local theater is showing Shazam tonight. Now, this obviously came in on Saturday. Hop Dan, this day just got a whole lot better. Yep, and I went to go see Shazam on Saturday as well. Had a magnificent time. Me and Ann and Ashley Whalen came, and Ray came, and my buddy Ryan came, my buddy Soul came. We all went down and watched it. Had such a great time. Damn, I love that movie. I love Shazam so much. I cannot wait to watch this stupid thing again. So I hope you had a chance, Jordan, to get out and watch it that Saturday as well. Okay. Eternitine Forever writes, Magneto's power covered the electromagnetic spectrum. Now, you highlighted Electro. Is that supposed to be some kind of Spider-Man play? You're trying to say there's some kind of Spider-Man connection there? I wonder. Okay, Darth Sidious writes, hi, John. Are you looking forward to the Elton John Rocket Man musical that's coming out on the 29th of May? I was quite interested in it. But here's the thing. They went out of their way months ago to talk about how Rocket Man isn't a biopic. It's more like a musical fantasy sort of thing, right? that uses certain key points in Elton John's life to tell the story, but it's really more like a musical fantasy, much in the vein of like a Moulin Rouge or something like that, right? Really kind of whacked out, but they went over again. Not a biopic, not a biopic, not a biopic. And the first trailer they released for it felt like that. It felt like it was just musical fantasy, like with all this wild stuff. But then Bohemian Rhapsody became a massive hit. And then they put out another trailer and they made it look like Bohemian Rhapsody. They made it look like, oh, it's this heavy, serious biopic of Elton John. Wait a minute, time out. You were just telling us for months that that's not what this movie is. Your first trailer looks nothing like this trailer. So it feels like now you're trying to deceive the audience and making us feel like it's one kind of movie when it's really not. And it feels like you're pulling a fast one on the audience. And that turned me off. Now, whether that's fair or not is not the question. Because maybe that's not fair for me to be turned off by that. But I was turned off by it. And as of right now, I'm not looking forward to it, to be honest with you. I don't hate it. It's not like I'm actively, mounting some kind of anti-Rocket Man campaign or anything like that. No. But them pulling that felt really shady to me. And I was just like, you know what? You go ahead and you release. I'm not all that interested anymore. And, who knows? Maybe people watch it and say they really love it, and then I'll jump on board with it and I'll check it out too. But right now, I just, that trailer and how shady it felt to me really killed all my enthusiasm for it, because I was really enthusiastic for it before that trailer, and now I just don't know how I feel about it, to be honest with you. Mr. Graham91 writes, not that time has passed. How long ago did you hear about the Henry Cavill situation? I feel like somebody already asked me that before. I feel like somebody else already asked me that before. Anyway, I mean, I heard about the Henry Cavill situation. I mean, yeah, I heard whispers and everything, but everybody heard whispers. Everybody did. I'm not like in some privileged position that I heard things that other people didn't. I heard the same whispers everybody else did. But I didn't really know anything until the report came out, just like everybody else. Mark C. writes, finally saw Captain Marvel. If you have interstellar space travel, what good is a Lightspeed engine? Terrible plot. Mark, give me a break. That's the plot was not space travel. That's not the plot. And you're getting caught up in semantics. You're clearly getting caught up in semantics. Now, I can't answer in depth because that would be a spoiler to talk to people, except that just because certain terms are used doesn't mean they're meaning the same things you thought, or that you traditionally think when you think of those terms. You're getting caught up in semantics. Look, there are things to not like about Captain Marvel, yes. I mean, if you watch my review, there are things that I don't like about Captain Marvel. There are things to like and not like about Captain Marvel, but getting caught up in the semantics of something, that's not worth the time. That's not worth the time, Mark. Don't worry about that. All right, Chris Warden writes, watched The Dirt on Netflix last night. It's no Bohemian Rhapsody, but I still liked it. It's amazing those guys aren't in jail, let alone still alive. Yeah. And, I had somebody say to me the other day that they were uncomfortable watching it because in this person's terminology, that this is a real pack of scumbags. I know nothing about Motley Crue other than the fact that, they put out some pretty damn good music. Other than that, I know nothing about them. I have no dog in this fight. None whatsoever. For all I know, these guys go and work at, homeless shelters at night and soup kitchens and feed hungry people. For all I know, I have no idea. But I think this one friend of mine called him a little closely, and he said, I just don't want to support anything that glorifies a bunch of scumbags. And so I'm like, oh, okay. That's how you feel about that. Again, I have no dog in this. I have no opinion about Motley Crue one way or the other than the fact that they cranked out some pretty damn good music. That's it. So, but it does seem kind of amazing that not all of them are in jail. It does kind of seem weird about that. But again, I haven't seen the movie and I don't know much about them, so I don't have an opinion on it one way or the other. Caleb Kaiser writes, just for laughs, would it be funny if Marvel came out with an all-animal team starring Rocket, Cosmo, the Space Dog? By the way, Guardians of the Galaxy's got to bring in Cosmo. Cosmo is if you know the comics, Cosmo is a fundamental, important part. And I'm glad they gave him a cameo in the first Guardians, but I think he should be there anyway. Howard the Duck, Goose, and Lockjaw, no, that wouldn't be funny. It sounds funny writing it out as a joke, but it would not be funny to make that. No, I wouldn't want to see that. I don't think that'd be any good at all. Zane Ramos writes, I want more epic fantasy movies. With recent He-Man announcement, what do you think of a Never-Ending Story remake or Krull, The Last Starfighter, Dragon Slayer remake? Well, I mean, I don't know. There's some movies that worked in their time that wouldn't necessarily work as well in our cultural context. But I think there's an opportunity, and who knows what's going to happen with He-Man. We just don't know. I think there's an opportunity, though, for epic fantasy movies, like original epic fantasy movies. Now, we know they're taking another crack at Dungeons and Dragons, which is great. I mean, that's just an open imagination playground. You can do whatever you want with Dungeons and Dragons. It's not like it's one particular story that you have to rehash. It's like you can make any story you want in the realm of Dungeons and Dragons. Big epic fantasy. Great, go for it. I do think there's an open opportunity to do stuff like that. So Last Starfighter is more sci-fi, so I wouldn't count that in there. But I'd be more interested in a lot of the original stuff they could do now. But just open up the playground and go nuts and see what you can come up with. I think there's an opportunity for it. Justified Fun writes, Disney own Phase 1 Marvel or Paramount? Disney, I believe, owns it. I do believe Disney owns those. Orange Hand writes, an associate of mine thinks Bruce Wayne could have become Batman regardless of whether his parents were killed. Your associate does not understand Batman. Do you think there's any merit to this? None. None whatsoever. The death of Bruce Wayne's parents is fundamental. It's the most rudimentary, fundamental, baseline Big Bang when it comes to what created Batman. There is no Batman without that event because, and I've mentioned this before, for all intents and purposes, Bruce Wayne, the child, died in that alley, and the Batman was born. Bruce Wayne died in that alley. That traumatic event of seeing his parents murdered in front of him, that kid died and Batman was born. And for the rest of his life, Batman is the real person. This Bruce Wayne guy is just a mask that Batman wears. Batman is truly who that individual is. He's not Bruce Wayne. He'll keep carrying the name Bruce Wayne because it helps him hide amongst people. But at his core, he is Batman. Bruce Wayne does not go on to become Batman without that. Batman isn't a created character of fiction to hide the identity of Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne doesn't exist anymore. And there's just Batman. And that's a fundamental thing you got to understand about Batman. So I wholeheartedly disagree with your friend's assessment. 100% disagree. All right. Mark and Dale Productions writes, what I meant was I'm writing my own original story that is in the style of Star Wars and Lord of the Rings or a sci-fi fantasy mix. That's great. I mean, it's a good playground to write things because you can let your imagination go and do all sorts of stuff without a lot of limitations. It's a really good place to start writing stuff like that. I think that's a great idea. All right, Keith O'Neill writes, what was the first movie you remember looking forward to? Like you counted down the days till it was out. Empire Strikes Back. I mean, like I said, I've said this before many times. My earliest childhood memory is of my mom taking me to see Star Wars. That was my absolute earliest childhood memory. But I remember a couple years later, like as a kid, when I was told that they're making another Star Wars movie. It's like, what? And the theorizing about whether Chewbacca was going to be back and whether they're going to do this or that, the other thing. But that's like my next childhood memory. It's like my earliest childhood memory is watching Star Wars with my mom. My next earliest childhood memory is probably imagining what they're going to do with Star Wars 2. So that's the earliest one I remember looking forward to. And then my aunt took me to go see it. My Aunt Lenora took me to go see it at a movie theater in downtown Hamilton. And I still remember that. Anyway, Marie Seafring writes, with Ryan Reynolds and Chris Hemsworth going back and forth on Twitter, over under 5%, we get a feud buddy video with Ryan and Chris in the next 3 years. I think it's less likely we get an actual Deadpool/Thor one shot. I haven't seen it. I'm not on Twitter a lot, so I haven't seen that back and forth. I'm now curious to jump on Twitter and see that because that sounds like something that would be hilarious. But I have not seen that. And it does not look like we're going to get Deadpool Thor movies because it sounds like from what Bob Iger is saying that Deadpool is going to be under a different banner. They're going to make Deadpool not in Marvel, not under even Disney. They're going to make it under a separate banner altogether and keep it separate from the MCU. So it doesn't sound like we'll get a Deadpool Thor one shot, but to see Ryan Reynolds and Chris Hemsworth do something fun on Twitter, that would be something I'd like to see. Okay. Isaac Marino, or Marinero, writes, "Hey John, just giving a shout out to my Filipino girlfriend, Edelisa. You dude, dating Filipinos will ruin you. I know." Dating Filipino girls will ruin you. Yeah, I of course, for those of you who know what I'm talking about, my wife Ann is Filipino, and my brother-in-law Ray is obviously Filipino, and my in-laws are Filipino, and I've married into a Filipino family, and it's great. It's really great. So you're gonna be ruined now, man. You're gonna be ruined, Isaac. So those are really nice of you to give a shout out to her. Kylo Ren and Stippy writes, "What if that door was blue?" That's kind of building on my example that I gave. Very funny. Suthius85 writes, "Mr. C, I'll gladly lend you my Bio 3D printer. Print yourself a Campea 2.0 to assist you with all the work you and your crew put in every day. Thank you." That's very generous, Suthius. How about instead of the Bio 3D printer, because that thing's got to be worth about $1 million, how about you just give me the $1 million? Because then I could hire a whole bunch of help to help me with a lot of stuff. A Bio 3D printer. Wouldn't that be a cool thing to have? Okay, Orange Hand writes, "Do you remember in the 90s when Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, was turned evil?" That was the whole parallax thing. The reaction was so toxic and ugly that some fans sent death threats to DC. Well, I mean, because Hal Jordan was a beloved character. I personally, look, the whole parallax stuff they did in the comics, a lot of people hated. I remember it. I remember being really intrigued by it. Because, at least for me at the time, it was so different. Taking a long-term beloved hero and making them the big villain of a story, that was gutsy. That was gutsy, I thought. And I thought it was an intriguing story, and it was also a character study of what pain can do even to a hero. What deep, deep pain and guilt can do to a hero. And I actually thought I got a lot out of it, but yeah, there were a lot of other people Orange Hand that did not dig that stuff at all. Luke Blackwell writes, "Apart from Heath Ledger as Joker, because that will always be number one, what are your top 3 best cast roles in movies?" I don't do top 3, top 5 stuff, so I just don't do that stuff. I don't think Heath Ledger's the Joker even is the number 1 casting in movies ever. I don't think that. I think he's, obviously it was great, and he gave probably the best performance we ever had in a comic book movie there, but I don't know that I would even say he's in my top 3, 4, or 5. I mean, maybe he'd be in my top 5 if we were talking about like comic book movies specifically, but in movies in general, I got to tell you, Heath Ledger wouldn't even be in my top 5. Not even my top 5. Not when you got guys like Daniel Day-Lewis playing a number of roles that he played. Not when you've got Al Pacino playing The Godfather. Not when you've got like these huge, iconic roles that just, quite frankly, leave Heath Ledger's in the dust. But that's just my opinion on that. Now, if we're talking specifically about the comic book genre, then it definitely does rank right up there. But all time in the movies, like I said, he wouldn't even be in my top 5. Probably not even in my top 10. But it was magnificent, no doubt. No doubt it was absolutely magnificent, Luke. Orange Hand writes, "You shirt reminds me of the son from American Dad." So that was probably written in on Saturday. I was wearing my Shazam shirt. I've seen a bunch of American Dad. I don't remember what the son wears, though. So I've watched maybe about 10 episodes of American Dad in my life. And it's been a while since I've seen any of them. So I can't remember what the kid wears. Pelican Mike writes, "John, do you think there could be a secret 7th stone?" I don't think so. I don't think so. That doesn't seem to make sense, because what do you do then? And now they have to find the secret 8th stone. And then a few years later, nobody knew about the 9th stone. And then it's like, couldn't you ever realize that there had to be a 10th? I don't think so. I mean, anything is possible. Let's just be clear about that. Anything's possible. But you're asking me if I think they'll do that? No, I don't think they'll do that. I think that'd be kind of lame. Haskell420 writes, "Do we know if Warner Brothers canceled Supernatural? Was it the creators and or actors wanting to stop? Would you want to see Netflix pick it up like myself and other fans?" No. It's going to be 15 seasons. And you know what? I'm still enjoying the show. 15 years and I'm still enjoying it. I'm still having a good time with it. I still think they're doing good things with it. I really like this most recent Archangel Michael thing they were doing. Now they've got now they're moving in. They got Jack, who's like maybe doesn't have a soul like Sam used to not. They keep doing interesting things. And you know what? 15 years, man. Like, let's just appreciate that we've got this show longer than almost any other show gets to be. and it's going out while it's still good. And I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. I'm not looking for Netflix to pick it up. Honestly, I probably bet it's the guys. I think it's the runners of the show that are probably finally calling it quits. Like, when you have the same job for 15 years, you probably are ready to hang it up after 15 years. So I got a feeling it was them. Look, I don't know it was them, Haskell. I don't know that they're the ones who made the decision to pull the plug on the show, or if it was CW. I don't see why CW would pull the plug on it, but maybe it was. But I think they're the ones who did it, and I think, yeah, they earned it. I think they earned it at this point. Stubble McShave writes, will it be the same logo on all Star Wars since Disney owns Fox? I don't know what you mean, Stubble. Will it be the same logo? What logo? On all Star Wars movies? Well, I don't understand what you're asking, because not all Star Wars movies have the same logos on them. So I don't know. Will it be the same logo on all Star Wars movies since Disney owned Fox? I don't think Disney's going to suddenly make Star Wars a Fox property again. They treat Lucasfilm as its own division. It'll be the Lucasfilm thing on it and Disney's things. I don't think we're going to see Fox just for the hell of it. I don't think they're going to do that. But that might not be the question you're asking. But again, I'm not quite sure what it is you're asking, Stubble. Sorry about that, dude. Let's see. Stubble follows up with, I'd like to see underwater battles in Bond again. God, I can't even remember an underwater battle. What was the underwater battle in Bond? I can't remember off the top of my head. Not me. I'm not a big fan of underwater battles. I'm really not. There's not a lot you can do that makes it interesting. I want to see Bond in hand-to-hand combat and in gunfights and stuff like that. I'm not much one for underwater battles, but maybe you got something in your head that I'm not picturing right now that could be pretty cool. I'm saying off the top of my head, it's not something I'm interested in, but maybe you've got a vision that would be cool. So I don't know. I'll be open to that, Stubble. I'll be open to that. All right. Bigger V Express writes, damn, Captain Marvel has made $825 million. Dude, that was Saturday. It's now over $910 million. It is closing in on that $1 billion club. It's going to be the 10th comic book film to reach the $1 billion club. It already is the 10th biggest comic book movie of all time, passing things like Spider-Man 3, Guardians of the Galaxy, Thor Ragnarok, Spider-Man Homecoming, Batman vs. Superman, whole bunch of films that's passed. It's now the 10th largest comic book film of all time, which is crazy. Rugo Kelvin writes, Why is Gotham? Saw it yesterday. That show needs to die hard. Who is Gotham? I'll do one better. Why is Gotham? I don't know. Like, I've said for a long time, Rugo, I found Gotham to be a hit and miss show, which means sometimes it was pretty good. Like, when it focused on James Gordon and the crime in Gotham, it was a good show. When it tried being a Batman light show, it just stumbled and fell on its face. And just, it seemed like more and more they were making it a Batman light show. So to me, I haven't even watched anything this season. I watched up to the season finale last year, but I have not even watched this season because honestly, I just finally got kind of tired of it. But it had its fans. It does have its fans. A lot of people who watch my shows actually quite like it. Like I said, for me, it's a little bit hit and miss though, but don't worry. They've already said this is the final season. So, and by the way, why want a show to die? You don't have to watch it. If there are other people enjoying it, let them keep enjoying it. Doesn't mean you have to see it, right? So why wish for a show to die? So don't worry about it. But anyway, nothing to worry about, Rugo, because they are pulling the plug on it. Jeremiah Jacquez writes, Hey, John, love your show. It's the best. Thank you so much, Jeremiah. Which Avenger movie is your favorite so far and why? Well, everybody knows, I believe the best comic book movie ever made is the first Avengers. I think that's the best comic book movie ever made. It is the movie that defined what an MCU movie is. Like, when you looked at the films like the first Iron Man, Captain America, the first Avenger, the first Thor movie, things like that. All good movies, very good movies. And movies that you could see Marvel kind of finding its identity about what it was. It was when Joss Whedon directed that first Avengers movie that became the definitive statement. This is the MCU, you know? And it just pulled it together in such a way. It was something we had never seen before. And I'll even say not even Infinity War has delivered that kind of an experience that we have never seen something like this before, like the first Avengers was, in my opinion. So that to me is, it's the first Avengers. That's the one for me. All right. Where are we at here? Kurum Tariq writes, hear anything on Jeff Johns' Green Lantern movie? Nothing. I don't even know if that's something Walter Hamada is still entertaining. Walter Hamada might have pulled the plug on that. Maybe he hasn't. But as of right now, I have heard nothing new on the Green Lantern movie, which makes me wonder if it's still in existence. Now, don't misquote me. Don't go around saying, John Campea says they're not making the Green Lantern movie anymore. No. I'm not saying that at all. I'm simply saying I've heard nothing about it. It makes me wonder if they've pulled the plug on it. But as of right now, I have nothing positive nor negative to report because I haven't heard anything recently. Jeremiah follows up with, keep up the awesome work. Thank you so much, Jeremiah. I appreciate that, man. Lone Wolf X6 writes, Ramsey versus Cersei, who wins it being more evil? Oh, to me, that's Ramsey. Because Cersei, look, there have been times that they've actually made her a little bit sympathetic. She has endured a lot of crap. She's endured a lot of crap, and she's also committed a lot of crap, and she can be very, very evil. Make no mistake. With Ramsey, it's just vile evil. I mean, Ramsey was just evil. So to me, yeah, man, it was Ramsey. It was definitely Ramsey. James Wheeler writes, who's the better goalie, Hasek or Brodeur? You're talking about two of the most celebrated goalies, certainly in recent history, but even in all of hockey history. I got to go with Dominik Hasek. When your team needed a goal, there was no other goalie you least wanted in the opponent's net than Dominik Hasek. Because when that guy just decided, I don't think I'm going to let any pucks get by me. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to let anything score on me. Then you just didn't score on him. He piggybacked some terrible hockey teams on his shoulders to having great records, some gold medals, and some championships. I mean, that dude was just stupid good. Dominik Hasek was just stupid. And Brodeur, he was a big money goaltender, man. Absolutely taking nothing away from King Richard. But yeah, the Dominator, Dominic, when he just decided, I don't think anybody's going to score on me today. See, the goalie in hockey is unlike any other position in any other professional sport, be it basketball, baseball, football, whatever. It doesn't matter how good your quarterback is. The other defenders can get at him, shut him down. Maybe the receivers can't catch the ball, blah, blah, blah. The goalie, it doesn't matter how much better your team is than the other team. If the goalie simply decides he's not going to let anything get by him and you can't score, then that team's going to win. And Dominik Hasek was just kind of like that. It was crazy. It was almost immortal. Okay. Apex Caliber writes, sent you the email on Zach Levi. I did get it, and I thank you for sending that. I did get a chance to go over and read that finally, man. So thank you for sending that to me, Apex. Luke Blackwell writes, The Walking Dead versus Game of Thrones. I don't really watch The Walking Dead, so clearly I have to say Game of Thrones. Nate Smith writes, when to see Captain Marvel again? Excited to see Shazam tomorrow. Realize it's released next month. Crushed. No early showing here where I am. That sucks. Yeah, I mean, they didn't do the early screening of Captain Marvel, or of Shazam, I should say, everywhere. And the one bad thing, Nate, I remember, because me and Ann were talking the next morning. We were having breakfast the next morning. I'm like, the one thing that bugs me is that I can't watch Captain Marvel again, or Shazam again, I should say, for at least 2 more weeks. That sucks. Because normally you go see a movie, you really like it, you can just go back to the theater the next day and watch it again. I got to wait 2 weeks to see this damn thing again. That sucks. That sucks. I had such a good time with this movie, man. I cannot wait for you to see it, Nate. I think you're going to have a good time. I think most people are going to really enjoy this film, man. All right. Do it for cash writes, news of Regal subscription at CinemaCon possible? I doubt it. CinemaCon isn't like a D23 and a Comic-Con where they go to make big, at least theaters don't go to make big announcements. That's not where they go to make big announcements. Sometimes studios will make announcements and stuff like that, but even though this is the theater's convention, they don't generally go there and make announcements. So while it is certainly possible, it's possible, I wouldn't put any money on it yet, but I do believe a Regal subscription service is coming this year. No insider information. I just believe it's going to come this year, so we'll have to wait and find out. All right. Jin Yuichi writes, which is your favorite Enterprise? Mine is 1701E. Look, I love Star Trek. I am not nearly as much as a Star Trek nerd as I am a Star Wars nerd. right? So I can't tell you which one was A, B, C, D, E. Whichever one the first one was on Star Trek The Next Generation. That was my favorite Enterprise. Robert would have been better at answering that question than me. Al X6 writes, instead of having Magneto be a Holocaust survivor, why not make him Bosnian war survivor and have that be the event that fueled his hatred for humanity? I think Bosnia completely fits the bill. I think there are several horrific situations and things that have happened in the history of humanity in the past 40 years or so, 50, 60 years, that would fit the bill. Rwanda is a big one that comes to mind. I think you can stretch it a bit into the American Civil Rights Movement and stuff like that. But Bosnia, that totally fits the bill too, man. That absolutely fits the bill. All right. Frankie Gouge writes, John, have you checked out the Netflix trailer for The Highwayman with Kevin Costner and Woody Harrelson? Looks decent. I think it looks quite good. And it's available now on Netflix. I haven't watched it yet, but I need to get around to watching it because I think that looks great. It's about, there are these two Texas Rangers. It's not True Detective. It's these two Texas Rangers, Woody Harrelson, Kevin Costner, and they're the ones who are on the hunt for Bonnie and Clyde. And it looks fascinating. I really dug the trailer. I think the trailer is great, and I'm looking forward to watching that movie. Let's see here. Jinyuichi writes, over under 60%, Endgame has a happy and satisfying ending. Oh, I'm going to go over 60% on that. There's going to be some tragedy. There's going to be some sacrifice. Yes, but the end of the day, it's going to be a victory celebration. You know, it's going to be the win. They're going to have the win. It's going to be a happy ending with some sacrifice and some pain along the way, but ultimately it's going to be a happy ending, so I'm going to take over 60% on that. All right, it follows up with, no She-Hulk in the MCU because of Paramount rights? No, it's more because of Universal rights, but honestly, I don't think they would have made one anyway. She-Hulk is just too much of a derivative character. Hulk and She-Hulk? I mean, it's too much of a derivative character. And I'm not saying they'll never make a She-Hulk film, but I think it's too early for a She-Hulk film even now. So even if there were no rights issues, and I believe there are tied up with Universal, I still don't think they would have made one yet. I think eventually we'll get a She-Hulk film, but I think the main reason would have been because it's just a derivative character of Hulk, so it's not time for that yet. But I do think they'll eventually do one. Apex Caliber writes, Captain Marvel didn't make $2 billion. It's a flop. Boycott. Yeah. Look, they're stretching. The people who perpetrated the hate and smear campaign against Captain Marvel are so desperate and grasping at straws. I wouldn't doubt it at all if at some point they go, it's total flop. It didn't make $2 billion. It needed to make $1.8 billion just to break even. I'm sure they're going to be saying stuff like that. Apex Caliber writes, has the MCU made the $1 billion club seem easy? It feels like it. But even then, I mean, in the 23 film history of the MCU, we have, as of right now, because Captain Marvel isn't in that club yet, but as of right now, we have Captain America Civil War, Iron Man 3, Black Panther, and the 3 Avengers films. They have 6 films in the $1 billion club. Out of, well, what are we at? 21 now. Out of 21 films, they've got 6. So, and it looks like Captain Marvel may join that as well, become 7. It still don't look easy. You know, it still doesn't look easy, but they certainly make it look easier than it really is. Apex writes, how would you handle overpopulation if you were Thanos? I'd make half of all life sterile, since the Reality Stone doesn't seem permanent in the MCU. Help the scientists of the universe figure out how to increase resources. That seems to me to be the bigger thing. It's the harder road. The easier road is just to snap your fingers and wipe out half of life. But yeah, it would be something, if resources are the issue, figure out a way to increase resources. That seems like to be the better thing. And, you know, start an education program on all the worlds about, hey, guys, overpopulation is a problem. Apex follows up with, I feel like DC has a challenge with Darkseid in the DCU. Do they change him a bit like Thanos or keep him like his comic book self? Comparisons are inevitable. Sure, comparisons are inevitable, but you can make him different enough. You can very easily make him look and act different enough. And really the whole motivation of Thanos with trying to just wipe out half-life in the universe is very different from that of Apocalypse. Apocalypse World, I should say, and Darkseid and all that kind of stuff. It's very different. By the way, for the longest time, it was considered a 3-way problem. Thanos, Darkseid, and Apocalypse from the X-Men universe, Age of Apocalypse. making these characters confuse each other. I honestly don't think it's going to be as big of a problem as a lot of people think. I think you can make him look very different, and no one's going to be confused. I don't think anybody's going to look at the ultimate dark side we get and be confused. Wait a minute, is that the same guy from Infinity War? I don't think anybody's going to be confused. I think they'll do a fine enough job, right? I think it'll be fine. Adrian St. Fort writes, what do you think about a short actor playing Wolverine in the MCU? Since he's only 5'3" in the comics, it would be progressive for the short stature of Wolverine to be embraced on the silver screen. I really don't care. Honestly, Wolverine is short in the comics, but him being short is not a fundamental key aspect to the DNA of the character, right? Not like Mjolnir is a key fundamental aspect to who Thor is. You gotta have Mjolnir. And Thor needs to be the son of Odin. There are some fundamental key DNA aspects of who and what define that character. Wolverine's height isn't one of those things. There are several elements that are far more important to Wolverine than his actual overall height. Like if you're talking about a character like Puck, well, Puck's height is a key essential element to who he is. To Wolverine, it's not. His berserker rage, his adamantium, his claws, his background with Sabretooth. There's a number of things that take much higher priority on the DNA of Wolverine than his height. And so if they want to make Wolverine 5'5", 5'4", 5'6", whatever, if they want to do that, I got no problem with that. Do I personally think that's a priority? Nah, I don't think that's a priority. If he's 6'2", fine. If he's 5'10", fine. If it's 5'3", fine. I think it's fine whatever height they decide to go with, but I really don't think that should be at all on their list of important things when writing the character, and particularly when casting the character. Just get the best performer. Get the best actor, don't worry about the height. Because it's not that big of an issue when it comes to the character, in my opinion, at any rate. All right, thanks for the question, Adrian. Ash Cartwright writes, opinion on The Walking Dead. The latest episode was incredible. Change of showrunner seems to have made a huge difference from last couple of seasons. I haven't watched any of this season of The Walking Dead. I watched most of last season, but honestly, I'm not a big Walking Dead fan, so I haven't felt it. I haven't made it a priority to make sure I make sure I watch Walking Dead this year. You know what I'm saying? So I'm the wrong guy to ask, Ash. Sorry about that, man. All right. Kevin King writes, John, have you ever watched the Tony Jaa movies? Oh, yeah. The Protector, Ong Bak, especially Ong Bak. Anyway, The Protector, Ong Bak, there you go. Power Kids, Raging Phoenix, your thoughts. Love You and the Gang. Tony Jaa's an interesting situation because when Ong Bak came out, they really promoted that film as in, like, this is the new Jackie Chan. This is the new guy who does the crazy self-stunts. And you got to see Ong Bak. And what Tony Jaa did in Ong Bak was eye-opening and eye-popping and crazy and redefined what we thought was physically possible for a human being to do. You know, it was crazy good. The problem was the movie was terrible. It's a terrible movie. Take out the action, it's a terrible movie. But they were kind of looking at that as being the thing. And I can understand why, because he does such crazy stuff in this movie that was going to catapult him into the North American pop cultural consciousness and make him a big star here. Like it took a long time, but like Jackie Chan eventually became a big star here. And they thought they were going to do that with that. The problem was whether it was a mixture of his inability to really get a handle on the English language or the movies just weren't all that good. Because say what you want, like a number of Jackie Chan films, like they were like these big crazy action films with Jackie Chan doing crazy stunts, but some of them were actually pretty good movies too. Some of them were pretty good movies, cheesy and whatever, sure, but pretty good. Like Ong Bak was a bad film. It was a bad film that was a lot of fun to watch because of Tony Jaa. So, you know, it's good that his name is still out there, but he never was able to become that big North American star, that next Jackie Chan like they were trying to bill him as, which is really too bad because the dude's a great action star. He's really great. Okay. Jared Murray writes, thoughts on Shutter Island. I've always thought that was an underrated film, and I've appreciated it more and more when I've watched it. Probably one of the more underrated Martin Scorsese films. Great performances in it, all the way around, all that kind of stuff. I mean, I don't think his best film, but definitely one of his more underrated ones, and I appreciate more every time I see it. All right, final question of the day comes to us from Marquis Jackson, who writes, what looked cooler, Captain Marvel standing... What looked cooler? Punctuation, folks. Punctuation is our friend. What looked cooler? Captain Marvel standing up every time she fell, or Captain America doing the same thing in his movies? Honestly, the Captain America movies are better. Particularly Winter Soldier and Civil War. But I think the Captain Marvel standing up scene, because they were statement moments, right? They were statement moments that spoke to the character of the individual. And I thought that was cooler. Just now, remember, we're just talking about that one isolated thing, but to me, that was kind of the cooler thing, Marquis. Thanks for asking. Okay, guys, that will do it for this installment of the companion videos. We are now all caught up. Thank you guys for sending in all these topics, to giving us great stuff to talk about. And thank you as well for supporting the channel in doing so. Don't forget, the John Campea Show will be back again tomorrow. Make sure you come and join us for that. That'll do it for me for now, guys. Thanks a lot for being here. My name's John Campea, and until the next video, bye-bye.